when he was a normal little boy playing and happy and laughing, and they were ecstatic that they had those pictures. They lost a great deal, but the pictures meant a great deal to them. Sometimes what the firemen do is offer people a bit of consolation, see if they can salvage a few things for them, or help them, find out how do I move on from here with temporary housing and things like that. But it's a real privilege to serve with a fire department. It's a privilege to serve with a group of people very dedicated to serving the community, doing what they can do for the community. Those of you that have been here a number of years remember the Firemen's Fun Days. And you talk about bringing a group of people to town. How many people came to town during the Firemen's Fun Days? You couldn't waddle through the streets for people that came. And that was something that firemen did for town. And we are very much here to serve you and to serve our community. I thank you very much for allowing me to come this evening. You're free to look at any of this stuff here. If anyone has questions, I'm sure that Jerry and Larry would be happy to answer them for you.
Any questions for Chief Epps?
Yes.
Not a question, but you did an excellent job of presenting the fire information, but part of the department that's very near and dear to me is your rescue people. They saved my life a few years back. And talk about professional, dedicated people that don't get enough recognition. Not that that's why they do it, because they certainly don't. But great people, great people.
As I say, the fire department changes. It doesn't stay the same. If it's static, we aren't doing our job. But as you go through the history of the department, there's certain stages where things change that are dramatic, like the different changes from department to department all serve purposes. The movement from horse-drawn apparatus to motorized apparatus, from gasoline motors to diesel engines, and those types of things. And as you look back, you can see the visions of some of the leaders that have been there. The rescue squad that Rudy mentioned is a service of the fire department. Other communities have a fire department with a separate rescue squad. Here, the firemen fulfill the role of first responders. And that was a change that took place about 1984, and that was a vision that Chief Parsons had. And at that time, if you were to call for an ambulance here in St. Louis, after, I believe it was 9 p.m., the hospital would page the driver and the attendant for the ambulance because they were at home. When they got paged, they would drive to the hospital, get the ambulance, and then drive to where they were needed. And here in St. Louis, just to get an ambulance from Alma could take as much as 40 minutes, depending on where the crew lived. And Chief Parsons said, there's got to be something better for our people than that. And maybe we can fulfill a little void. And so it was his vision and his brainchild that said, we're going to have a half dozen people on call during the day, and half dozen during the night, a half dozen on weekends, and we'll get some oxygen, we'll get some basic first aid equipment, and we'll go out and offer assistance to our friends and neighbors or whoever's here until the ambulance can get there. And over the 25 years or so that we've done that, we now find that in an average year, our rescue squad responds about 250 to 270 times to various emergencies. The full fire department responds to another 80 or 90 alarms, generally running about 340, 350 alarms a year combined. And these people, the people that are doing this, all have full-time jobs, all have families, all go to training. We have training, formal training twice a month. When a new firefighter gets on the department, he has to go through about 240 hours of classroom training before he can get into firefighting actively. But in addition to that 240 hours of classroom, he also has homework to do for all those classes. And that's in addition to going to work every day, having his family, responding to the station for alarms, responding to departmental training, and all the other things that go on in life. So these really are a lot of very dedicated people that really have a barrel of fun trying to help you out on the worst day of your life. It's not that we're morbid, but we know when you call for us, you're having a bad day. And we hope that when we respond, we can make your bad day a little bit better. Thank you very much. Yes?
Does the St. Louis Fire Department do anything special for a fireman when he passes away? I've heard in some cities or departments where they'll put a casket, V-casket, on a fire truck instead of a hearse. Do you do anything like that around here?
We have not had the request for that. When Assistant Chief Buzz Brown passed away this last year, the family asked if maybe we could have a truck parked on the pad as the funeral procession went by. And so I talked to the fireman about it and said, I said, there's no doubt we can do that. And the fireman said, no, we can't do that. We will have all of the apparatus on the pad. Any fireman available will come in uniform, and we will stand as an honor guard as the procession goes by. And there were people that took the day off work to come and stand out here for 5 minutes in their uniform in acknowledgement of Mr. Brown's service to the community. So it kind of depends on what families want and that type of thing. Also, the Michigan State Firemen's Memorial in Roscommon, if you're not familiar with it, you want a nice afternoon drive in the summer, drive up to Roscommon Firemen's Memorial. It's a lovely site. There's a large bronze statue of an 1890s firefighter there, and there's a memorial wall, and they have panels with firefighters' names on it. There are two different sections of the wall. One is for firefighters who die in the line of duty, and the other is for firefighters who have served a minimum of 10 years on a department and have passed away, and the department or the families have paid to have their name put on the wall. And we are in the process now of putting together a policy for that in the event families would like that. As far as line of duty deaths, I'm only aware of one incident involving a St. Louis firefighter that might be a line of duty death, and I haven't been able to clarify it. It was in 1933, a 25-year-old firefighter by the name of Harry Shelley swam out into the Pine River to retrieve a lady. From the accounts I've read, she apparently had drowned. He swam out to retrieve her body. About 2 days later, he became ill. He was diagnosed with typhoid, taken to Saginaw to the infectious hospital, where he died 3 weeks later. And that would technically be a line of duty death, but that's the only one that I'm aware of involving a St. Louis firefighter. We'd like to keep it that way.
Any other questions?
Yes?
You might mention, are you still doing the smoke detectors?
Thank you for asking that. Are we still doing the smoke detectors? As I mentioned, in the early days, if you were a responsible citizen, you had a fire bucket in your home, and I said, you all do have smoke detectors and CO2 detectors, don't you? Several years ago, we said, on our rescue runs, we have 6 people that go, and occasionally, everybody's busy. Most of the time, on a medical call, we'll have 2 or 3 people that are involved in taking care of a patient, assisting EMS, and a couple of people that aren't doing much. So we put a cordless drill and a few smoke detectors and a couple batteries in the rescue with the idea that, okay, if you're not doing much at call, grab a family member and say, do you have smoke detectors? If they don't, can I put some in? If you do, can I test them for you? If they don't work, can I put a battery in? And we don't charge anyone for any of that. In an average year, we put in probably about 60 smoke detectors in 30 to 40 homes. We replace